I'm going to make a video on overhauling this Autolite 4100 for the Galaxy, and I just wanted to go over a couple of things before I tear into it. One thing, the carburetor on the engine right now has a little bit of a hesitation, and if I take a little screwdriver down in the secondaries, just close them, just basically set them on the secondaries, it's gone, it runs good. So that tells me that these are not closing tight and causing a little bit of a vacuum leak. Now one thing, there's a screw right here, and I learned about these Autolites I was unaware of, is they do have an idle circuit in there on the secondaries. Most secondaries do not have idle circuits. This one just happens to have one. And I don't know if the little jets show up in there. Let me get a little pointer here. See if I can hold this open and point at the same time. So there's two of the little jets, and there's another one. And these ones are clearly, these bottom ones anyway, clearly have some corrosion in them. And these are the plugs for where they bored to put those idle circuits in. So either that carburetor on the engine right now has, I'm thinking, get this linkage off here so it's not flopping around. It either has plugged idle circuits, or these plates, these throttle plates, maybe a rebuilder removed them. It's really unnecessary to remove these plates when you're rebuilding a carburetor unless these throttle shafts have significant wear in them. So you move them up and down. That's pretty average. Yeah, these are in good shape. There's no real wear in the throttle shafts, so I don't need to. There's no reason to take the shafts out of this carburetor. If they're really super sloppy, I would put bushings in them, drill them out and put bushings in them to tighten that up. There isn't. The slop in that is so minimal it's not going to affect anything. It's about what a new carburetor has. So I'm not really seeing what could be causing a hesitation on the engine that's in the car right now. So I'll take the other carburetor apart, the original carburetor back apart after I get this one running on the car, and see if these idle circuits are actually blocked up on it, or if these plates are not the correct ones. They're cut on a little bevel, and that's not going to show up in the video. But because when they're closed, as you can see, they're not flush. They're a little, they're not like this. They're a little bit of an angle in the bore. And in order for those plates to shut tight, they need to be bevel cut. And that's the same with these ones. So essentially, you want to make sure if they're cocked a little bit, they won't seat properly, or if they're an upside down, they obviously won't seat properly. These have little dimples, as you can see. So those are kind of like stops when you're putting the plates into the, does that show up? Into the shaft there. I think that shows up. I can't see the camera screen. I'm just holding the carburetor up to the camera there. So hopefully you can see it. But anyway, I'm going to start tearing into this carburetor. It looks like there's a casting number right here that says 12, 10, 64. So I don't know if that shows up. So this might be cast. I don't know. It's got the correct tag there, and it's got the correct thing there. Correct on the tag too. So it is the correct carburetor for the engine. All right, so I'm going to start taking it apart and see if we can, we'll go through it. And this one I'm going to actually run little wires through all the jets. You know, even I might have even missed something in the tubes that go down in these. You know, I could have, you know, there could be some crud still in that carburetor. It sat 44 years, so you know, sometimes that stuff gets like concrete in these carburetors. So I just need to really look at it. The original, the one that's on the car right now, I'm going to take a really good look at, take it apart and look it over to see what I'm missing on it, to why it has that. It's nothing bad, but when it's at operating temperature, if I bring it up to 1400, you can feel it just kind of surging a little bit. And I can put my hand partially over the air cleaner snorkel and it smooths right out, so it's running too lean. And I checked for vacuum leaks. I thought maybe the PCV valve was the wrong one. It would cause that. I took the valve out and put my thumb over it and made no difference. I took the vacuum line off to the power brake booster and blocked it, and it made no difference. So I don't think there's a vacuum leak to the, you know, from the carburetor anywhere, like from any of the vacuum lines or anything. And I checked around the base of the carburetor to see if the gaskets there were leaking. So I've kind of looked it over, and the only thing I can determine on that Autolite that's on the car is either missed cleaning these idle circuit jets, because I didn't realize the secondaries had an idle circuit. I did spray a bunch of stuff down the things here, which would have purged them out hopefully, but you know, it's still a good possibility that that is the issue. You can see the idle circuits on this side, here and here. Little bleeds there and there. So yeah, it's in need of a. This is the port for the vacuum advance right there for the distributor. Right there, that little square. I don't know if you can see it there or not. There's a little square port right there. That's for the vacuum advance. That's idle. So I don't know. This is a power valve. I doubt that it's a power valve, because when you step on the accelerator hard, the car really gets up and goes. No hesitation whatsoever if you tromp on it. It's just cruising. Just cruising along at 45, 50 miles an hour. You can just feel it a little bit, and I don't like it. So I'm going to hopefully remedy it by going through this carburetor, and then I'm going to look at, like I say, I'll look at the other one to see if we can determine what it is. All right, so I'm going to start taking this thing apart. Otherwise this is going to be a long-winded video. First thing I like to do is get all extra bits off. So I'm going to get the choke cover off, and in fact I'm going to take this little heater hose bracket off. That keeps the heater hose against the choke cover so it can help heat the choke, which is heated from tubes from the exhaust manifold. So and I'll just put these screws back in the holes just so I don't wonder where they went. I can clean the carburetor with those in the holes, that's no big deal. And I'll take the choke off. This choke is kind of sticky, so it needs good cleaning too. These screws, I know that they'll come from the choke, so I'm not going to put them back in there. Actually, those other ones I probably know. They're all pretty cut and dry where things come from. I have two carburetors, so we're going to make one good one out of the two. But I think this one will probably be, everything will be good in it. So maybe I'll rebuild the other one and sell it. Maybe after I figure out what's wrong with the one on the car, maybe I'll sell it. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep one of them for an extra. Choke cap. It's got a TT on it. It tells you in the shop manual letters that the choke cap should have. Gasket for the choke cap, because that is vacuum. There's a piston right there, and when vacuum is applied, it pulls the choke open a little bit so the engine doesn't run rough cold. It helps smooth it out by, and you adjust that by how much that choke opens with this right here, this turning this knot. So let me get some of this, more of this apart. I think I'll take that piston out because, like I say, the choke is sticky on this carburetor. So there's a little screw you take off the shaft thing. And that thing's really gooey in there. There's the little piston. It has a little wear on it. You don't want these too worn because otherwise vacuum just leaks by them. They don't pull a choke open. We'll take a look at the one in the other carburetor. The one on the car works perfect. So if all else, I can take that off. So now I can start. Basically just disassemble everything and clean everything really thoroughly. I always save my gaskets so I can compare them because the kits often rebuild a couple of 2 or 3 different carburetors, and sometimes they put in different gaskets for different parts of that carburetor, you know, for the different carburetors. So it's important to kind of match your gaskets. Try not to destroy them when, oops, I don't want to lose that screw. So the choke parts. Does my little pan show up? I put all the parts in a little pan, somewhat in an order so they don't get, you know, so I know basically where things go. But like I say, they're usually pretty cut and dry. So there's the choke housing assembly. That's where it gets its vacuum, right there for that piston. So you want to make sure that passage is clear. And get this, looks like I got to undo a clip here. Need to get a little tool to get in there and flick that clip off. Sometimes one like this, sometimes one like this. Just whatever you can get in here. I try not and lose these clips because sometimes the carburetor kits don't come with the replacements, or they're the wrong size, or they're just cheesy and don't work. Yeah, that's even stiff in there. So all that needs to be cleaned up. This is what adjusts where your fast idle cam, how far it goes. So when you start the car cold, this is the fast idle cam. So you push your accelerator to the floor, the choke closes, and then it comes up on the fastest cam. When you start the car, that vacuum pulls that piston and moves the linkage to where it should drop to the second step. And that screw is what adjusts so it'll drop to the second step. This adjusts how far this choke will open, and in the shop manual it gives you a specification. Generally you use a drill bit or whatever between the horn and the I'll show it when I go to put it together. I don't know if I have a vacuum pump I can put on that to get vacuum in there or not. We will worry about that when we get to it, but I'm just gonna go around and take these linkages off. This is for the secondaries. Yeah, all this stuff is really stiff in the joints. And I think I'll take that fast idle cam off too, because I want to clean all that out and make sure nothing's sticky. That's kind of sticky on there. You can see that definitely needs cleaning up, that shaft. And I'm not going to bother taking this off. There's no need to take the throttle shaft out, so I'm not going to take this or any of the plates out. But you kind of, you know, get the picture now. I'm going to take the top of the carburetor off. This has to come out of here, otherwise you'll never separate your top. That holds the two halves together too. Hope this thing's still recording. Yeah, it is. My battery's getting low. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. I should put a blindfold on and do this. Yeah, I could probably do these blindfolded, although that lifted up when I loosened it up, and that shouldn't have done that. So I'm wondering what's underneath there. I got a screw tight too, so that could be it. Yeah, that was probably why. Alright, now you can read the tag, I hope. Hopefully it showed up in there. This carburetor looks like it was rebuilt at one time. That's kind of a replacement type gasket on there. Float bowls are pretty darn clean in this thing. It's actually probably, bet you $100 if I put this on the car, it would start right up and run good. But we're gonna go through it anyway. This is the primary, because this has the accelerator pump in it. This is the weight. This is hollow. That's where the fuel comes up and goes out into this to squirt out these holes for your accelerator pump. There and there. These are air bleeds. It's important those are clear. These are air bleeds. If you don't have air bleeds, if they're plugged up, they will, this is where the gas goes in for the accelerator pump. This screw, whoops, dropping the weight there, goes in there. And those openings there are where it squirts out of those in for the accelerator pump. I don't want to lose that weight. Kit does not come with them. This and this. So what I'm thinking, maybe on the Galaxy, one of these tubes is still partially restricted maybe, or maybe one of these is blocked up. I thought I really thoroughly cleaned everything, you know, so I'm going to really go through this one and make sure that I don't miss a thing. And that one wasn't very tight. There is a check ball in here too for that accelerator pump in this hole. So put your hand out, dump the check ball out, and set it aside, because there are several different size check balls that come in the kit. You do not want to put the wrong one in there. So set your check ball aside so you can match it up to the one that comes in the kit. The floats have little spring retainers you pop to get them out. These are neoprene floats. I will replace them with brass. Yeah, this carburetor's in, wow, yeah. No doubt I could put this on the engine and it would fire right up. It's in really, really amazingly good condition. Yeah, the needles look like new. Floats are nice. Float bowls are clean. Accelerator pump feels like it might be okay. Let's take a look at it. Yep, I think this carburetor was rebuilt shortly before the car this was on was retired. Because this thing's in really nice shape. Oh, no, that's all cracked. So that would start leaking gas. That's just from setting probably, and alcohol maybe. But yeah, that's in need of replacement. The check valve for the accelerator pump. See where it pushes in right there. So we'll get that popped out. It looks pretty good. And the power valve. By the way, I talked to the chrome plater today, and the bumper for the Galaxy should be done by the end of the week. It's in polishing right now. It's all plated. They just gotta polish the plating. And put these screws over here so I don't misplace them. Need to take these out too so I don't damage them. That one was only out in the quarter turn. That one was not quite a half a turn. Little corrosion on this screw, just a small amount. Inside of that's in nice shape. Let me get a wrench and we'll get that off. This is a 1-inch wrench. Yeah, I think this has seen its better days too. You can see the cracking in the rubber when I push on it. So that is in need of replacement. The secondary diaphragm, I don't know if this shows up that. Oh, that's loose. Yeah, these aren't even really tight. Now when I took the carburetor apart on the Galaxy, there was a gasket along with the diaphragm here, and the rebuild kit did not come with a gasket, nor does the shop manual show a gasket there. It just shows the rubber diaphragm. So we're going to see what this is too. Little ear there, I don't want to stick it in there and pry because I don't want to take a chance on damaging the casting. So I'll just tap it in this ear. See how it has a little ear right there? And I did that because you don't want to damage this surface right here. This thing's in remarkably good shape. This is the diaphragm for the secondaries, and there is no gasket on that. So that is, that looks like I got a little clip thing in there I got to get off to. I don't want to break that arm, so let me get some little needle hosers and get that. So as you can see, there's a little clip right there I got to pop off. I don't, there, I just lifted right off and set that in there. That diaphragm's in excellent shape. It's like brand new. Almost like they replaced this diaphragm but didn't rebuild any of the other carburetor, because this is all dried out and this is all dried out. But these had gas This would have just had vacuum, so it could have been the alcohol and the gas that did those in. But yeah, that's stiff too, so that needs to be cleaned and freed up. The butterflies seem to work nice and free. The throttle shafts don't seem to be. Yeah, so you know, you got to make sure that kind of stuff all works. That's curb idle. That's where you adjust your idle at curb. This is what you adjust for the kick down on the transmission. I'll show you how you do that because I'm going to have to make sure this one's adjusted right when I put this carburetor on. And when I do it, I'll show you how to adjust that, make sure it's set up right. So I'm going to get out the main jets. You got a couple more tools here, so I'm going to get out the float. Yeah, mine weren't even really tight. This stuff all looks brand new. Oops. Secondary. Set that over there with the secondary. Primary. Yeah, they're literally like new. This definitely was overhauled not too long before this car was parked. I got the garage closed up today because today it's cold. We went from warm to cold overnight. Let's get the secondary mains out and then we'll take a look at the primary mains. This is how I break them loose so I don't mess up the jet. I put a big screwdriver on it, hold them down in it tight, and then turn it with a crescent wrench until they snap free. See? And then you can just take them out with a regular screwdriver, but I like to free them up this way. And we'll see what number these are, and hopefully they're all the same. I don't know if this it doesn't look like a rebuild or a rebuild. It looks like a home rebuild, but I may be wrong. Okay, the mains are all loose, and it's important to tighten them up the same way. You don't want loose main jets. These are the primary. And they're too dirty right now to see the number on them. I wanted to see what number they were. You can see where the number is, but like I say, that one's too dirty. So we'll get those cleaned up. The primary, I'm going to set with the primary side float. The primary stuff on the bench I'm keeping to the right, the secondary stuff to the left. Even that would be the way the carburetor would be oriented that way, or the way I have it set up. So the primary, secondary, secondary, primary. It's kind of just, you know, I guess, you know, and this would be around that way. There. So let me get these other two main jets out, and I'll start getting everything in the parts washer cleaning up. Yeah, I can't see the numbers. They're kind of. Make sure my battery. I think I got to change my battery, but they're not dirty enough to where the engine wouldn't run. It'd probably run fantastic. Like I say, you know, for the 15th time. Money says I could have put this on the car and it would have ran fine. The numbers are, that is a, it's a 55, I think, and that's, I think, what's supposed to be in the carburetor secondaries. Yep, 55. Can you see it on there? So it's got the correct jets in the secondaries. I can't see anything on these. These are just too dirty, so those will need a clean. So there it is, pretty much all down to the casting that I'm pretty much all. That's as far as I'm going to take it apart. The other carburetor does not have these in it, so I don't know if that makes a difference or not, the one that's on the car. So if it does, you know, who knows? We'll figure that engine performance issue out before, you know, after I get this one on and the car running good. The cleaning, which I'm going to take it over in the parts washer, but this is the stuff I like. And you let it soak a little bit in there like overnight, and it really does good. Whoops, that was the accelerator pump. I'm just going to see if when I squirt in these mains for the... Yeah, see, it's not coming out the idle. So that doesn't get the idle circuits there. So I'm going to have to, oops, geez, almost sprayed the camera there. I'm going to have to make sure I get all those clean. That may be the problem on the carburetor on the car. Alright, I'm going to get this over to the parts washer. The way this carburetor was cleaned originally, I don't think it was done by a rebuilder, because they usually like blast all this stuff and make a huge mess of it. Yeah, there is a lot of crud in this carburetor, no doubt about it. You'll see the fluid squirt out of there. That's all good. Out of the accelerator pump. These are just screw holes here. This carburetor's been, I just kind of putz with it as I can because it's really ultra nasty, but it's cleaning up. And like I say, I think I'll, see, that doesn't have those little metal tabs either, just like the one on the car. So maybe that was, who knows, I don't know. But this, I think, is a nice original, never seen a rebuilder touch it, which is kind of what I was looking for. Sorry if you're a rebuilder, but yeah, I'm just not a big fan of three-man carburetors. Never have been. I like to do them myself. I need to get another can of this, so this one's starting to get empty. Alright, I'm going to let that soak for a little while, and I'll come out and maybe I'll go in and have some lunch. Before I go to have lunch, I decided to put these, spray these really good and set them in there. The main jets are just laying in the bottom of the float bowl. Accelerator pump stuff, the choke piston, the choke case, all that stuff that just really needed cleaning. I just decided to throw in the carburetor, and I'm going to let that sit for about an hour. That's one thing nice with that Mercury Power Tune stuff, is it kind of bonds, it sticks to everything, and it really over time cleans it up. Like if I let that sit overnight, would be ideal. This has been soaking here for about an hour, hour and a half now, and I was just going to start cleaning it up, and I noticed this passage here for the secondaries was full of like a black gooey tarry goop, maybe like a gooey silicone or something. So I don't know if it was a bit of the old original gasket, the replacement gasket, was green. And this stuff's kind of a black, and it's even caught there. So I don't know, maybe somebody put silicone there on the gasket or what, but if that was black, the secondaries won't work, because that's the passage, this tube that goes down here to the secondaries for vacuum to that diaphragm. But I'm not going to be videoing all the cleaning up, because it's kind of, I don't want to get stuff on the camera and stuff will get flicked everywhere. This is a secondary main. They look like they're going to clean up nice. Oh yeah, you can clearly see the writing on it now. Number 55. I don't know if that shows up, but yeah, they're cleaning up. Light isn't good enough here to where I can read that, but it definitely has a number there. Oh, I took them over and looked in the light, and I don't know if there probably isn't enough light here, but they're both, the primary jets are number 48, and I'm going to leave the 48s in it because I think this was what I call an unmolested carburetor, a carburetor that never met a rebuilding shop. This might have been rebuilt, but I think it was rebuilt by an individual like me maybe. And I think all the components are still correct ones to the carburetor. So I'm going to start cleaning this stuff up, and you know, everybody cleans them up their own way. Some people have those sonic tanks. They work great. I don't have one. I use the mercury, this stuff right here. I tend to like this stuff. This even works good on running engines, like if you have stuck piston rings or anything, you can either spray it in the carburetor while it's running, or you can take the spark plugs out and spray it in the spark plug holes and work the engine. That's what I freed up all the rings on the engine that's in the car now, to get the rings off the pistons so I could re-ring them. The Galaxy still has its original pistons in the engine. You can see that stuff cleans right off after you've let it soak a little while with that power tune stuff. You can see it's cleaning up pretty good. I cleaned the body of the carburetor completely, and I made sure I got all the idle circuit jets. This is the primary, those are idle up there, and the big one, and then 3 little holes up above. And then there's idle circuits on the secondaries, and I don't think these will show up in the video, but there's one little one below the plates, 2 little ones above the plates. The ones below the plates are really tiny. The ones above are a little bigger. But I made sure I spray everything with gum out after I'm done cleaning all the carbon and nastiness off with this. Then I use this, and then I blow it out with compressed air. And you can see that power tune really cleans the crud off a bit. So this is done, this is done. Now I got all the goodies in here. So I'm going to start cleaning them up, and then we'll start reassembling and adjusting everything. As you may see, I've been cleaning components. This is for the secondaries, this is for the primaries. This is the primary one. When I was blowing out the air bleeds and blowing everything out, I noticed a little different tone when blowing into that air bleed than this air bleed. So I've been spraying more of this in, and I got a bunch of black gooey stuff out, and then I sprayed it with some more. I sprayed it with this, let it soak for about an hour, then I sprayed it out with this and got all that gooey stuff out, and then I sprayed it again in there to just see what's going on with it. And I just did the same with this one just for good measures. these little tubes are where the idle ports get their gas out of these tubes right here through this orifice and then down through that orifice right there. And this is the secondary side, and gum out freely sprays out of all those orifices for the idle circuit on the secondaries and the primaries. I sprayed everything through this carburetor really well. And I don't know if I'm repeating myself again because I'm working on this. I worked on it yesterday afternoon and then this morning, and I've been cleaning up. That's for the power valve that goes in the bottom of the carburetor. This is for the diaphragm for the secondaries. Accelerator pump. This is the piston for the choke pull off, and it had a bunch of scores in it, so I tried to clean it up. Hopefully it doesn't leak too much vacuum by it and pulls the choke off still. And this thing was really nasty. I actually put this in my bead blast cabinet and gave it a... I didn't bead blast the inside anywhere, just the outer shell, just to kind of... so it didn't look so bad. But another thing I use is 4-aught steel wool, so like you can clean your all the surface rust, any scale off the choke plate, and these brass tubes clean up nice with it. So it's all cleaning up pretty good. I'm going to finish cleaning this stuff up, and then we'll start putting it together, and I'll do a video on that and setting it up. And I still have some components. This is lacquer thinner in here. So I just soaked these and the main jets and a bunch of that stuff in lacquer thinner. I think the mixture screws, the main jets, I don't know, there's a bunch of stuff in there still. Lacquer thinner does a good job of removing, you know, varnish gas from stuff, so that's why I use it. Alright, I have everything all cleaned up and ready for reassembly. I think I'm going to do the reassembly in a separate video because I'm going to go through all the adjustments and everything, but I did, you know, I cleaned all the little air bleeds out. Little air bleeds, and made sure everything came out clean. No issues with these Venturis whatsoever here. Air bleeds there, air bleeds there. This is a secondary right here. I made sure all those orifices around in there are clear and fuel comes out or gum out comes out of them. I've really gone the extra mile on making sure everything's clean on this carburetor. I don't want any issues with it. All those idle circuits, everything's clean. I think I showed that I cleaned all the fasteners up, the float pins. Yeah, it's pretty much all ready. I gotta replace this little component right here. If you notice, it has a little crack right there. So I'm going to take this off the other Autolite 4100 that's in my parts washer and clean that up, the part like this from the other one, and then I'm going to start reassembling it. Well, I took this one off this parts carburetor, and this one's good, as you can see. And I put the broken one back on this carburetor, and you can see how that bushing in there has been replaced at one time. So this has been pretty worn out, and somebody put something in there to tighten it up. But the piston for the choke pull off is in really good shape in this one. The other one had some scores in it, and I tried to clean it up, but I think I'm going to clean this piston up and use it in this carburetor. So I just think that's the piston out of this carburetor. I cleaned it up, but I think that this one will be a tighter, better fit. Well, I'll try it anyway. I'm not going to put it back in the carburetor right for now. I'm going to leave it out and play with it. So I'm going to call it a day on this video. If you like the video, definitely hit the like button. It helps me get more viewers, which helps me get more money, income from my videos, which helps in restoring this car. And oh, and by the way, the main jets. The rears are both 55s, and the fronts are both, let's see, this way, they're 48s, and they're all clean too. But anyway, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you like my channel, hit that 348 icon that pops up there in the top, and thank you for watching my videos.